Welcome back for part 2. I'm going to try to stay out of the line of sight, so I do apologize if that doesn't happen. I'll do my best. I can't really see what's what, so anywho, on part 2 here, we're going to go ahead and get this brake pulley off. I've moved over here to the other side of the garage where I've got a little better light and a little better space to work. So we're going to go ahead and remove this brake pulley so when we split this case open, we can just move right forward with the process. I already tipped it on its side, made sure it didn't have any oil in it. I was pretty certain it didn't, but I just made sure of it. So, anywho, now that we're working down on this thing, it's a little more convenient. I can get a little more of my stuff a little quicker and a lot easier. So, that being said, here we go. Anywho, we are on to removing the bolts that hold the case together. So, at this point, just trying to grab and sort tools here. Don't mind the mess, it is what it is. I am trying very hard to get organized better. Unfortunately, I've had little time to do that, so we are making do. I have an adapter. Just have 1/2 and 3/8. Oh, I have one in here. Looking for an adapter. We have 1/4 inch socket that we're going to use. We're going to use a Torx bit because, well, first off, I can't really find an Allen that's long enough. So we're going to go ahead and use a T30 in these. And you can do that in place of an Allen bit before anybody freaks out about the fact that I'm using a Torx bit. It is acceptable. It will bite the hex inside just as good as a Allen will, if not better sometimes when they are stripped out. So what we're going to do is we're going to hang this off the end of the table and hold on to it with one hand. So you can see I've propped that up so we can... Ooh, might be a little tighter than I thought they were. So anywho, I guess they're a little tighter than I thought they were, so that's okay. That one did not like that. Sorry guys if I get in your way. I gotta try and break these loose. This idea is... That's the reason why we moved over here, so we're closer to better tools and the ability to use them. You gotta love when something doesn't work like you planned. Nevertheless, I was always taught, adapt and overcome. Figure it out. It's not the end of the world. Just smack that in there with a hammer. Just need these loose enough to turn with the impact. Get tired. What happens is you can get carpal tunnel by doing repeated stuff. So we try to use tools that prevent those possible outcomes from working on stuff all the time. So that being said, think about that in your life. When you're deciding to work on things, think about it. Make sure you think long and hard about what you're doing, because injury can happen later in life and you may not even realize you've done it until after the fact. You can hurt your back very easily. And all of that fine stuff. So, that's enough of our lesson on that for today. As you can see, take a rubber mallet, or the dead blow mallet from this morning, and go ahead and whack on those to get them broke loose. And now that we've got a good bite and we've got them broke loose, we can run them out with the power tool. Now, I may have to clean my workbench off. May end up having to put this in the bench, or on the bench and in the vise, to be able to load this case the way that it needs to be done. However, we'll cross that bridge maybe tomorrow. I don't really know. But at any rate, I wanted to hop out here since I was home early. You canceled some things at school that were going to happen today because of weather, so I decided to hop off the garage and go ahead and show you guys what's up here. So we're going to set some tools over here on the side on the lift table to get them out of our way, so that when we crack this open, we're not making too big a mess. I'll put the gloves aside. So now we got to split the two halves. As you can see, I'm using a dead blow hammer. I am not using a metal hammer at all. If you don't have one, I highly recommend one. Harbor Freight, inexpensive, every bit as good as a name brand, just much less costly. So as you can see, the case halves are starting to come apart. We're going to get a screwdriver if nothing's in the way. Drawer here. And we're going to help it open up. Screwdriver. You don't have to have top name brand stuff. I just happen to have some of it because that's my line of work. And I've been in automotive for most of my life, so I do have quite a bit of name brand. Just not really any reasoning behind it other than, you know, some of it my dad left me, some of it he gave me, some of it he bought me. Just all of the above. So, you know, take that as it may. I do highly recommend that you have good tools, and then you have tools that are just for whatever. And if you don't use them every day, you know, you don't necessarily need top name brands. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't think you probably would need Snap-on. But I'm gonna say it like this, to each their own, and everybody has their preference of what they prefer and like. See, the gears are falling out on me, so we're going to be consulting the manual quite a bit to get this mess put back together. Because as you can see, this looks like a counter gear. If I remember correctly, it rides in there, something like that. I hope you can see what we got going. There's some other gears in the bottom here. We're going to end up going through the book and trying to figure this all out. So, any rate, we are after the input shaft, because the input shaft was loose. I believe the input shaft is in this half. So we're going to take this half here. You can see it's got some of the shift forks and rails and stuff. We're going to set this down and off to the side. We'll cover that up a little bit later. Here's our shaft. This holds some gears as well down in there, which they are out right now. There's an idler in here, which I'll bring you guys over here so you can kind of see what's up. But all this stuff came out. All this came out. Got your clusters. I believe that would be a counter shaft. As you can see, it's got a gear. So and this is also your brake shaft here. So you have to take all that stuff apart, but here's the guy we're after right here. This is our input shaft, which I need to get that apart. And we have another input shaft. It's in pretty rough shape. I don't know what I'm going to end up doing here. I may have to chuck one up in the lathe and weld it up and go from there. Okay, so I went ahead and pulled the input shaft gear. I've got to find my can of brake clean here. Bear with me a second. I can't brake clean. We're going to go ahead and clean this shaft up. I don't know what we're going to do yet. That one shaft is pretty roached, so I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm trying to figure that out. At this point, I noticed this gear does slop a little bit. It is really worn. You're not probably going to be able to see this on camera. You can see, I can run my thumbnail. There's definitely a groove. It does kind of show up. There's definitely a groove in there. That's why it's riding in the bearing sloppy. So, don't know what the best recourse is going to be yet. They both have it. This one's been cut into, would need some polish work. I probably won't show where I put these, either one of these into the lathe and attempt to polish them up. I think this one I'm probably going to end up using, even though it's got some good cuts into it. I don't think they're going to hurt anything. As long as they're not where the seal rides, I don't think they'll hurt anything. Looks to be like it might be a double seal right there, so I don't think that'll hurt anything. I need to clean it up and micrometer it. Somebody cut the bearing off of it's what happened, so at any rate, that's where we're at. I just got to decide the best recourse. I'm probably going to deal with that in the morning at this point. I might focus on cleaning up a little more. And then I'll have to, welding this up would be pretty difficult. It's possible, but, and then bringing it back down to size is not impossible. I'm just not quite set up yet, but I might have to make an exception and make a quick setup on my lathe to get going, because like get this thing back together. Of course, I'm gonna have to break the book out when we put this back together, because it's really pretty tricky and it takes certain steps, certain ways to do it. So just keep that in mind. I think I had this thing apart several times when I did it last time, trying to get it right for him. So that being said, I think we're going to convene for today. I will upload this and call this part 2. This will be part 2 of our series of who knows how many to get this done. I don't know if I'll bring you along for the lathe work. I'm cleaning this one shaft up and seeing, because I might weld this one shaft back up where they cut into it. Once I clean it up with some memory cloth, I might weld up that nick into it and that nick into it, because it might be easier to machine that back once I clean that up. And it may hold a bearing better than the one we have. We may end up trying to find a better one. I don't know. If somebody out there knows and watches this, I'd say let me know, but this probably won't hit. You know, I probably won't be able to see it in time. Or I'll probably hit well after or done with it before anybody catches it. So, anywho, that's where we're at with our John Deere 1964 110 3-speed transmission project. So, anywho, I do got one more thing before I let you guys go. We still have the 110, I think it's 72. I don't remember now, but I did locate a muffler for it. I located a hood and the head tin for it. So I'm gonna pick those up this weekend. And I talked to the gentleman where I located those at. He says he does think he's got a deck. So I think we're gonna end up pulling the rear pan off of it. So we've got some work to do on the variator. We'll talk about that when that time comes. As you can see, the variator levers all the way forward. Usually leave them all the way backwards when you park them. But in this case, I have the brake pedal locked down and there's really no resistance there. So there's definite work that needs to be done there, probably adjustments. And if we do decide to sell this thing, I want it to work like it should. We are missing this cover. So if somebody sees this and has one of those covers and they don't need it and they want to send it to me, great. I definitely like that. But yeah, and then one last note, we are going to paint that stuff green. Talk to you guys later.